Hello, welcome to the Just-in-Time Shelter Fundamentals training webinar. This video is designed to quickly teach you the basics of working in an American Red Cross shelter. This will get you on your feet and ready to get out there and help people in no time. The mission statement of the American Red Cross shelter worker is to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors. Our commitment as shelter workers is to take care of the sheltering needs of people affected by disaster. We are committed to providing sheltering on an interim basis while our clients arrange for their recovery or until they are able to return home. We demonstrate this commitment in our sheltering philosophy. Our sheltering philosophy is that shelters must be places of comfort and safety. Shelters must be readily accessible to affected individuals. All shelter workers must be strong advocates for their clients. Clients must remain proactive participants in their recovery, and shelters must provide a safe and secure environment that accommodates the broadest range of needs in our communities. Our philosophy guides our decisions while working in a shelter. When in doubt, follow the philosophy. Our sheltering values are also very important to us, and they are to make sure to respect all clients, provide services fairly and consistently, enabling clients to make other living arrangements, and to use resources wisely. The 3 R's of sheltering are respect, rules, and routines, each one of which is vitally important to running a safe shelter. Respect means that the Red Cross treats every resident with respect. This breeds respect being returned in kind. Rules and routines provide for the safety and structure of the shelter so that every resident feels as comfortable as possible. Remember our mission statement, commitment, philosophy, and values? The 3 R's are a big part of how we achieve those goals. Finally, you want to periodically ask yourself, is this a shelter where I would want my own family to stay? It may not be perfect, but do you feel that everyone is safe and sound in the shelter? If you do, then that's a great sign that things are going the way that they should. Our customers, so to speak, in the shelter are overwhelmingly folks that don't have other resources available to them for recovery. This is their only option. Other people that might stay at the shelter include shelter workers themselves, or maybe even some rescue workers. The important thing to remember is that no matter the reason they're staying at the shelter, they're all deserving of proper treatment and respect. Now that you have some basics regarding our underlying values and philosophy that shapes our shelter response, let's get more into the nitty-gritty of how you play a role in the response itself. The first thing that you should do when reporting to volunteer is to sign in and participate in a job induction. Then determine who your supervisor is and establish a reporting schedule with said supervisor. Here are some things you can expect a job induction to go over. You can expect it to discuss your skills and strengths, set expectations, exchange contact information, learn about the work site, establish a work schedule, and review your work assignment. Keep in mind that job inductions are required. Don't be afraid to ask one if one isn't immediately provided. There are numerous roles that Red Cross workers can perform while working at a shelter. They are shelter management, information, registration, dormitory management, feeding, health services, mental health services, or other client services, communications, logistics, staffing, and safe and well. As a new shelter worker, we will be focusing on information, registration, dormitory management, and feeding. First though, let's talk a little bit about shelter safety, population, and what we do in the case of animals in the shelter. Shelter managers are responsible for addressing the safety and security needs of the shelter population, workers, and clients in the shelter. Different security measures may be taken for different safety risks. A water spill on the ground requires a different response than an unruly client, for instance. Safety and security must always be a top priority for workers within the shelter. If you see something that you think is unsafe, tell your supervisor immediately. With regards to our shelter population, different clients will have different needs based off of different circumstances. Someone with a disability may need for extra measures to be taken to provide assistance for them, or someone with a diet allergy may need a different kind of meal than what was being planned. Be mindful of the needs of different clients because we are here to assist everyone. Due to potential health and safety concerns, Pets aren't allowed in the shelter, with the exception of service animals. On top of that, the American Red Cross isn't primarily responsible for finding alternative sheltering for pets, but we do understand that pets are incredibly important to the people that have them. To that end, the local chapters of the American Red Cross work with their local partners to plan for the sheltering of pets. During your job induction, if it isn't brought up, make sure to ask what options there are for sheltering pets nearby. Turning the page, let's go into the main responsibilities for shelter workers: information, dormitory, registration, and feeding. As a shelter worker, these are the roles that you will most likely perform. Workers helping out in information are involved with supplies, external and internal signage, communication methods, dissemination of information, confirming information, providing supplies, and informing residents directly. Remember that you are the liaison between the information the residents receive and the disaster operation and shelter staff. Do not assume that everyone can read posted notices or hear spoken announcements. Some clients may be low vision or blind, or may not understand the sign, or may be deaf or hard of hearing, so please be patient. Make sure to use different methods to get information to the shelter clients, like signage, bulletin boards, flyers, one-on-one conversations, resident meetings, information desks, and PA announcements. In essence, the role of information is to make sure that clients have all of the knowledge and resources that they need in order to make the best decisions for them. Registration workers are the first people that welcome people to the shelter. They take the information of each shelter resident, and they are the gatekeepers of the shelter, making sure that no one who doesn't need to come into the dormitory does so. It's very important that those who are working at registration are respectful, professional, and welcoming. Make sure to be patient and respectful with each client, as you are their first impression of the shelter. As a worker in registration, there are many different tasks that you may be charged with accomplishing, such as physically setting up the area, providing the forms and supplies, performing reception, performing registration process for incoming clients, reporting to your shelter supervisor to make sure that they know what's going on, and taking note of all shelter visitors that come into the shelter. This may sound like a lot, but keep in mind, there should always be at least 2 volunteers working in registration at all times, on top of your supervisor, so you will have support in case you have questions. It's always an acceptable answer to say, "I'm not sure, let me ask my supervisor." The next 2 slides are the 2 halves of the shelter registration form. When filling one out, it's important to understand what information we're looking to capture with this form and why, so that's what we'll do. At the top of the form is the incident/DR number and name, which will be told to you at the job induction. Next is the shelter name, which is the name of the facility, for instance, Sam Houston High School Gym. Then, the next space is the shelter city, county, and state, which is just the location of the shelter. After that, the form asks for the name, address, phone numbers, their method of transportation, total number of family members being registered, identification verification, driver's license if possible, and primary language of the client being registered. Next is a table listing all of the family members of the client that is being registered, with name, age, gender, and their arrival date. Notice, there are other fields, but those are filled out later. At the bottom of the first half is a very important box. This asks the client if they are required by law to be registered with any local or state government agency for any reason. This is highly important. If they check yes, immediately report this to a supervisor or manager and have them assist the person. We may have to find different accommodations for that client. On the next half, make sure that they sign the acknowledgement that the information that they have provided is accurate. Finally, there is a box labeled Confidentiality Statement. This is where the Red Cross asks if we can use their information with other entities that may be able to provide assistance for them. Make sure to read the information in the box. Have them initial the line next to each different entity. One line is for nonprofits and the other is for the government. Finally, have them sign the acknowledgement statement, sign on the line for the shelter worker, and congratulations, you've registered a client for the shelter. The next form highlighted is the shelter visitor form. This form is intended to capture the information of any non-shelter resident who visits the shelter. There are many types of people who might visit the shelter, and they may ask for very different things. Please be sure to be respectful of them, but professional. Also, don't let them, under any circumstances, come into the dormitory without someone that can escort them, such as a supervisor or shelter manager. Besides providing information and registering clients into the shelter, it's also important to have volunteers that can make sure that the clients have a place to sleep. This is where dormitory management comes in. They help to set up the cots so that each person that comes to the shelter has a place to sleep, and so that the dormitory is set up in such a way as to provide adequate walking space for the residents. They also provide comfort kits, or bags of toiletries, to the residents. For evacuation shelters, or shelters where people aren't necessarily staying for very long, you want to allow around 20 square feet of space for each person. For post-impact shelters, you want to increase the square feet of space to around 40 to 60 square feet per person, and around 100 square feet for those who require support equipment or service animals. This is in order to leave enough space for each cot and for personal effects. The final task that shelter workers will often be asked to undertake is feeding. The Red Cross makes sure that the shelter residents are fed in a healthy and safe manner. To that end, here are a few guidelines that will make sure that that can happen. Maintaining personal hygiene, using thermometers, receiving and storing food properly, preparing and serving safe food properly, and cleaning and sanitizing. These are the 5 basic actions that can lead to safe food handling. Here are some processes that can lead to safe food handling. Making sure you have healthy work habits, you wash your hands regularly, you wear gloves while serving food, you use thermometers to check the temperature, you prevent cross-contamination, you keep foods out of the temperature danger zone and therefore make sure that they are at safe temperatures to be served to people. You'll also know when to clean and sanitize using equipment and utensils in the sink, using the dishwasher machine, cleaning and sanitizing non-movable equipment, using disposable items such as plates, cups, and utensils, and disposing of waste in a proper fashion. Other roles and tasks can include arranging tables and chairs in order to create the feeding area within the shelter, making sure that there are enough plates, bowls, plasticware, and snacks available for residents of the shelter, and that there is proper signage for the feeding area. Congratulations! You have just completed the just-in-time training for shelter fundamentals. You now have a basic understanding of the 4 major areas in which shelter workers can assist those who have been displaced due to disaster. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope that your experience volunteering with the Red Cross to help those who need your assistance so much is a truly gratifying one.